Good morning and welcome to Rapid On right here on Rapid Television. Yes, it is Friday, a beautiful weekend it is. And of course, I believe that some persons are already getting set to just go ahead and enjoy themselves. And I think some persons are already traveling from today. So yes, the festive season is here. And of course, this is that moment where we all get to spend time with friends and family. Good morning, welcome to Rapid On. My name is Victor. Okay.
My name is Martha Alu. Good morning and welcome to Rapid On. It feels so good to be here. I'm pretty much excited to have you here as well. And you guys already know what it is like on Fridays. My accent goes up. My energy goes literally, how do you say it in British? Literally up. And I'm excited because I get to rest. Now, the most exciting thing about this Friday is because I'm an auntie. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm an aunt to a lot of people. And the fact that I'm just buying these little gifts here and there to just do some auntie stuff. I'm excited to see the reaction of my babies. Now, I'm just going to go give it to them. And that's what my Friday is going to be about, literally. Capturing the little smiles and the thank yous and all of that. That you just might never really know how it feels. But
no, I don't.
You don't.
But I know how it feels to be an uncle.
You do. You know? An aunt is different, though. An aunt is extreme, like different. Like most time, it's like I own these kids. You just had the babies from me. Give me my kids. You had the babies from me. I'm the mother of these children. I love how it makes me feel all the time. But yes, the weekend is just to connect just before Christmas and doing a little bit of Santa jobs here and there.
That's right.
But I hope that you have made plans to have an amazing weekend yourself. My name is Martha Alu, but you can call me Martha.
For today, call us Santa Mama.
Santa Mama, yeah.
Exactly. And
I love it. I love it.
Well, go ahead and patent the name for yourself anyways. You know, the excitement, the accent this morning. You just want me to say, I will give you a bottle of water.
Water. I don't need.
We all
need water. You know, the weather is really hot. I would have said I don't need water, but since the weather is hot, and I'd be advising everybody here to take a lot of water. So let me not be a hypocrite. Let me just get a lot of water too.
All right.
No, a lot of water too.
I'm gonna give you water.
That's, you know, on the internet space. One of the major things making waves will be about SPAC Nation.
Oh yeah.
And Pastor Toby and the fraud that they are, according to you know all of the analysts and the allegations and the footage that I have seen about that church. He is a celebrity pastor. And if you know him, he's known for buying his pastor's Birkin bags. He's known for using the most exotic cars. At one point, we thought that his visa was revoked. And according to the U.S. government, he was operating illegally. You know, I think his church is in Atlanta. And all of a sudden, throughout this week, a lot of people have come out calling Pastor Toby, saying that that place is a cult. Now, one of the fraud allegations that I saw, and surprisingly, that message was sent to Solomon Buchi, you know, the very vocal one on the internet space. And in the message, like in the direct message on Instagram, the person was talking about how if you have a business idea, he invests in that business, and then he makes you use your properties as collateral. Now, he doesn't front it directly. There is a company that fronts it, only for them to find out that the company belonged to Pastor Toby. So when they collect that money, they are never able to pay back. You know a loan bank, very popular. They've been called out many times. Lapo has been called out many times that people who take loans from there are never able to repay. And so the same thing with SPAC Nation. They collect the loans, invest in their business is going good, 2-3 years, afterwards everything goes down the drain. And then afterwards they're struggling to pay, you know, the mortgage, or struggling to pay back the monies and the loans, and then the house is being confiscated. Because they cannot pay. And so that's how, according to them, that explains why Pastor Toby has a lot of properties in the United States. Lots of property is out there. That's how he could afford this Rolls Royce. And the person who is talking said, for him to be able to keep one of the properties that was under collateral, under the SPAC Nation, or the organization that was run by Pastor Toby, he had to pay a whooping sum of 150,000 euros.
Whoa, that's a lot of money.
Is it 1,000 or million? It was a lot of money, according to him. Like he said I had to pay a flipping 150 white man's euros.
Boy.
So It's a lot.
It's a lot.
He's been called out by many people. He's been called out by, churches. He's been called out by individuals online.
Yeah.
And the British people trying to explain the story is the most hilarious thing I've seen online recently. But yeah, that's it.
Of course, we hope that they investigate properly and of course, come up with, what needs to be concluded as well. Well, from that particular story, we see that the Senate has confirmed, well, this confirmation was yesterday, the nomination of the former Minister of Aviation, Femi Fani-Kayode, the ex-presidential aide, Reno Mokri, and 60 others as ambassadors in Nigeria. Now, recall that, we had this conversation sometime, I think it was early this week, where we talked about the ambassador nomination, the screening and some of the confirmation as it is. But we've seen here right now that the Senate has confirmed 60 of the ambassadors, as a matter of fact, 62 of them, rather, of the ambassador nomination that was sent across to them by the president. And they said that all the nominees were thoroughly screened and found suitable for appointment based on their qualifications, their experience, their conduct, and knowledge of international diplomacy. And this particular update as well too has brought a lot of spark and talks on the social space by Nigerians, asking, because if you follow through some of the nominations, some of the screenings as it is, we got to hear bow and go many times. And so Nigerians are asking, if you're saying these guys were thoroughly screened, how many of these persons did we even get to hear talk about the things that they can do for the nation in the various countries where they are ambassadors to Nigeria? Especially some of the women that were nominated, that they never really got to interview them. Or they said to them, introduce yourself, take a bow, and go. But they are saying to us right now that these people are thoroughly screened. How we let all this screen? They say based on their experience, and their knowledge of international matters, and that's how they got to, approve all of those nominations. Now we've seen that, and of course, lots of talk going on there in the social space.
Well, from this end, what I saw was basically about the Office of the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu. That in Kwara State, there's been talks about whether or not the government had supplied weapons to these kidnappers and these terrorists that were captured. You see a video, and it was surprising to see that the people who are responsible for taking the lives of multiple people are afraid to die. See how scared they looked, see how they were speaking, But that aside, now the Office of the National Security Advisor under Nuhu Ribadu has admitted to supplying arms to vigilante auxiliaries as part of the hybrid security strategy.
Wow.
Now, Nigerians are not having it. They are calling for Nuhu Ribadu to be declared as a person of particular concern due to the involvement of armed actors with histories of violence. Now, aside from that, Kwara State has recorded over 70 deaths. They've recorded more than 150 kidnappings in the past year, including attacks on Oreke, the recent attacks that we saw in the Anglican Church, and many other people. Now, some arrested armed individuals were also members of the Metiala, and the Metiala is like another terrorist group, I would never forget, I was going to pass out from NYC at the time. This was one of the very first times we saw them operate here in the city of Abuja. Now, these people were making like a mass demonstration from where they were around the Wuse market axis. And POP, you just want to look good and all of that stuff. Now, I was there making my hair. I was in a stampede, and I missed, I escaped whatever happened there by chance. By chance. I broke my legs at that time. So it's very terrible that you're frolicking with people like this. They're dangerous people. They don't care about anybody else. Now, they are a group representing like Fulani pastoralists linked to violent clashes and killings across Nigeria. Now, the story emerged after the arrest of a Metiala member in Kwara with a rifle allegedly issued by the NSA. So this is getting a bit more chaotic than we had seen previously. It was just about people being captured and said weapons are being given to them by these people. It's another thing for these people to admit that they had given them weapons for vigilante, whatever. That's what we have, in the social space.
I also see that still the Office of the National Security Advisor, he has also called on governors to beef up security in their various states, for this festive season due to the mass movement that is going to be going on, within the nation as it is. I do recall that the nation has not really been so much of a great place to be due to all of the attacks that has happened, especially in the northern region of the country. Of course, this festive season, if care is not taken, if security is not beefed up as it is, there might just be some, infiltration of these bandits or terrorists into other parts of the country. And then we also see that the World Bank is expected to approve a $500 million loan for Nigeria today, being December 19th, 2025. According to them, the loan is meant to help small businesses, especially micro, small, and medium enterprises, to get better access to funding. And of course, they also called the project FinClude, which will support new financial products and encourage private investment to help small businesses grow. Now, they said that out of the $500 million that they're expecting to get approved today, $400 million will come from the World Bank, while $100 million will come from its development arm. Again, their goal is to help Nigerian small businesses access money and grow, and as well create jobs within the country. Now, the question that Nigerians are also asking is, this is $500 million that is expected to be gotten from the World Bank. Other loans are there coming in, right? Who are the persons that we're going to hold responsible or accountable, when small businesses do not get access to these loans? Because according to them, that is the basic reason they are taking this $500 million loan. Your thoughts?
Well, you see, about the matters of loan, especially when it comes to Nigeria, I'm not going to speak much about it, because whether or not you talk about it,
it's still going to happen.
Right. You see, it's just like the confirmation of Reno Omokri, Femi Fani-Kayode. Nigerians have, immediately their names were mentioned, Nigerians came out to say, on what basis or what grounds are you nominating these people to be ambassadors of Nigeria?
Right.
For a person to be an ambassador, the person has a track record of excellence in a certain area. There are people who fit into that category much more than the people that you have mentioned. These people have had the most chaotic lives online. They have said a lot of things. They have done a lot of things. They have abused the government. They have accused Nigeria many times on the social space. But they went ahead to confirm them, regardless of what the people think. So you see, there's little to nothing you can say about
Definitely not. But that being said, let's give you a rundown of what to expect on the program today. We begin with Today in History, where we'll get to give you some of the historic facts and, of course, keep you abreast with history. And from Today in History, we'll move straight to New Study, where we'll get to unearth discoveries and breakthroughs that are reshaping our understanding of the world. From there, we'll move straight to Did You Know, where we'll get to review surprising facts, hidden truth, and little-known wonders that spark curiosity and expand your perspective. And from there, we'll move straight to health tips, where we'll give you your daily dose of wellness wisdom, from smart habits to expert-backed advice. And of course, we'll move on to viral trends. Today is Friday. Of course, we'll bring you the moments that are making waves online. And at 7:30, we are going to be reviewing the Nigerian national dailies. At 8 o'clock, it will be time for the Human Chronicles, where we'll get to unveil the stories behind humanity. And at 8:30, Victor Ejema is going to be here to give us or bring us the latest scores and thrilling highlights from the world of sports. Of course, this is the weekend. We also saw that, the Super Eagles, they've arrived at Morocco, for the AFCON games that will be starting next week. And these guys came in style. And some persons talked about the confirmation of Ndidi as the captain of the Super Eagles. Some said it would have been better for Victor Osimhen to have been given the captain band. But of course, what we have is Ndidi being confirmed as the captain of the Super Eagles. Victor Ejema is going to be giving you further updates on these and more during the sporting hour. And of course, at 9 o'clock, we're back here for the big conversation. And of course, today is Friday. You know how we do it. We'll just tone it down a little bit and ensure that you are excited, you're dancing, you're laughing, you're just so happy. And of course, winding down to the weekend. This is the weekend that leads us to the Christmas celebration season. So we all just need to be happy and be merry. But let's go on a break. When we'll come back, we'll dive straight to the program of the day. Please do not get anywhere. Welcome back. You're still watching the Rapid on right here on Rapid Television. Let's move straight to the first order of the day, starting with Today in History. And of course, today being 19th December, in 1999, a sad event rather happened here in Nigeria. We see that President Olusegun Obasanjo ordered the Nigerian army to enter Udi town in Bayelsa State, Niger Delta. And this came 12 after 12 policemen were killed by a local armed group. And the military action destroyed most of the town and affected many innocent people in Udi. Till today, the Udi incident is remembered as a painful moment in Nigeria's history. And the truth is, the Udi community have not fully recovered from this particular incident. I think it was sometime this week we also took on the Human Chronicles. We shared with you that story. It was one of the days, right? We shared with you that particular story and the narration to what happened within in Odi community in 1999 and how the people are still struggling to recover from that particular incident. And we also talked about the fact that that situation would have been handled differently. There was a militia group that was already identified. These were the persons that caused the mayhem in the society. They were the people that were accused of killing the police officers, right? And these are the people that were supposed to be picked up and dealt with, and not an entire community. But we saw the entire community burnt to the ground. Wow. And it was a sad experience in Nigeria's history. And that's what we have for you today in history. Very sad experience. Very sad. But let's go on to what scientists are discovering. And if you love to eat ice, like I do, then you'd know this. But there's a difference between the ice that is made from boiled water and that which is taken from a tap. So ice from boiled water is clear, while ice from the tap is cloudy due to dissolved chemicals. Now, according to this research, the tap water contains some sort of trapped air, gases like oxygen and nitrogen. And when this freezes, this oxygen and nitrogen now, these tiny bubbles get locked up inside and they're scattering light and creating that milky look for the water that's the ice water, for the ice that is gushing from the water from the tap. Okay. Does that make sense? Now, the boiling the water solves it all. Boiling the water, the heat forces the gases, that is the nitrogen and the oxygen, to dissolve. Now, and the air also, to escape a process called degassing. Now, with the air, when the air is gone, the water freezes into a perfectly transparent crystal clear block. It's simple science trick for making restaurants quality ice at home. So if you notice, the restaurants have the clear gas and all of that. True. But yeah, it's good to know. And you like to eat ice, you said. Should I give you recipes? They're actually recipes. Still on my budget from yesterday. We can talk about that after. But now I've been seeing a lot of recipes, and I feel like if I was outside Nigeria right now, it's snowing outside of Nigeria. These people take the snowflakes, put it in a bowl. They put in condensed milk. Right. Add a little bit of honey. Yeah. Add a little bit of milk as well, and then do that all together. That's like ice cream. Really? I think I've seen it in some of the Hollywood movies. You see these guys do this. I'm like, really? I saw it online. Ice, It looks nice. Wouldn't you try it? I would actually. You don't have to buy it, so it just fits into the budget. Anyway, let's move straight to Did You Know? Right, of course, on Did You Know, we also see, or we are being reminded of something tragic as well, too. Did you know that not a single engineer on the Titanic actually survived? As the ship was sinking, the engineers stayed behind and kept the power running so that lights stayed on and distress signals could be sent. Their sacrifice helped many passengers escape safely, but unfortunately, not a single engineer survived the Titanic clash that happened, many years ago, which of course also led to the creation of the movie Titanic, which many of us watched. And this very act by these engineers is one of the quiet acts of bravery in history. Today we remember them. Today we also, doff our hearts for them. Massive respect to them for that sacrifice. Massive respect. Let's go to health tips for today. And we're taking a look at jackfruit. What is jackfruit? Jackfruit? It's a giant tropical fruit packed with nutrition. This is called jackfruit? Yeah, and do you know that I saw this like at close range for the very first time. Yeah. When we went to do that report in the market where we're talking about, the prices of things in the market. So I saw this I saw it on the ground. It was giving hedgehog. And I was like, what is this? This says that's jackfruit. Yeah. But let's get into it. Jackfruit is a large tropical fruit with a spiky green exterior and sweet fibrous yellowish flesh inside. Commonly found in tropical regions, it is a nutrient-rich fruit that can be eaten fresh or cooked in various dishes. Both its fruits and seeds are edible and nutritious. Now, what does it do? It boosts immunity.
Jackfruit is rich in vitamin C and antioxidants, and we know vitamin C and antioxidants, they help strengthen the immune system. They protect cells from free radicals damage and reduce risk of infections, and they also support recovery. They also support digestion. It is high in dietary fiber, prevents constipation, promotes a healthy gut, helps maintain smooth bowel movement, and reduces bloating and discomfort. It also is good for your heart and your blood health. Potassium in jackfruit helps to regulate blood pressure. The fiber helps to reduce cholesterol. Antioxidants support heart health and prevent oxidative stress. It also helps to maintain proper blood circulation. Another benefit is energy and weight management. It has natural sugars, and natural sugars provide quick energy. Low in fat but nutrient dense, keeps you full longer, aiding healthy weight management, because if you're full longer and then you get to eat less, right? The seeds are protein rich and can support muscle health. Also good for skin and eye health. The vitamin A and antioxidants support your vision and your eye health, and it promotes glowing skin and slows premature aging. It helps reduce inflammation that can affect skin health. Yesterday, I was listening to a program on radio, and the lady was talking about how her father is like well over 90 or well over 80, not to exaggerate. And he never used glasses. He reads with his eyes. Like, he doesn't need any extra support. He's still walking up straight and everything. And when she was being asked, she said it's basically about diet. It's what he eats. Dieting is so important. It's such an important thing to consider, especially when you start to have aged parents. Yesterday we talked about the Alzheimer's syndrome and the reduction of that by 45% by just eating eggs once a week. So you need to research on some of these things, that they'll need healthy bones, they'll need healthy eyes, they need healthy everything, so that they can live longer and happier. Because if a person is going to live longer and is not healthy,
there's no need for it.
Exactly. So,
wow. Of course, let's move straight to viral trends, and let's bring you some of the moments that are making waves online. We saw that Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu sent a diplomatic team to offer a formal apology to Burkina Faso after that aircraft was accused of violating, the airspace of the Sahel Alliance. Now, the incident reportedly led to the arrest of soldiers and the seizure of an aircraft, sparking strong reactions across the region. Of course, that's the Minister of Foreign Affairs there, to represent the president in that particular diplomatic meeting, if you call it that way. But let's get to listen to the things that he also had to say to the Burkina Faso authorities.
Message au président Ibrahim Traoré.
Sent here by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Tout d'abord, je conduis une délégation envoyée par le président Bola Ahmed Tinubu, président de la République fédérale du Nigeria, afin de livrer un message au président Ibrahim Traoré. Un message de fraternité, un message de solidarité d'un pays africain à un autre. Nous avons discuté de plusieurs sujets en
there was some of those misconceptions that Nigeria getting into Burkina Faso was more like a reaction, or within this time when they got to Burkina Faso, when that aircraft landed in Burkina Faso, that was also the time where Nigerian soldiers were in Benin Republic to halt or foil the coup, the attempted coup in Benin Republic. And so a lot of persons came up with various narratives saying that the Nigerian military were also there to maybe cause a scare in Burkina Faso. But of course, that wasn't the case. It was more like an emergency landing, so they had to land and of course get to prepare themselves for another movement. But they were detained in Burkina Faso and they stayed there for about 2 weeks. 11 soldiers and of course the aircraft. But yes, they have been released. They're back home. The aircraft as well has been released, and of course the Nigerian government had to get down to Burkina Faso to let them know, hey, we're not here for fight or quarrel. Let's just keep having our diplomatic alliance, an allegiance as we keep moving on, as African brothers as it is. Where we also saw a video of a lady who shared her experience after booking a flight with Air Peace, and it has shocked many people online. She said that the flight was so scary that passengers went on their knees to pray. Now you can see that on your screen. You know, this is the festive season. Lots of persons are actually going to be traveling. You know, and this is not the very first time that we've seen or witnessed this kind of turbulence, you know, from some of the, you know, airlines basically. And Air Peace has been one, you know, on the news for a long time. We do hope that they can actually do better, you know, to ensure that you know, safety is of paramount importance, especially with, you know, people who are flying at this point in time. And so a lot of persons have reacted, saying that it is painful to go through such fear after paying so much for a flight ticket. We also talked about the price of, you know, the flight ticket very recently that has skyrocketed to over 300%. You know, people get to pay over 300 to 400,000 naira just flying interstate within Nigeria. And if you're going to fly, I mean, you should fly safely and not be scared.
But a question I want to ask.
Ask.
It is, if there's a turbulence, I don't think is something that has to do with Air Peace.
Oh, well, yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm saying if there's a turbulence, you know, there are pathways, there are airways,
of course,
as well. Maybe they got into a rocky ground or rocky airspace.
Yeah,
I can't explain
like
it. Yes, but a turbulence is a turbulence. Sometimes it's not it's not within the control of the pilot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to look at the connection between saying that, oh, Air Peace should help you.
Yeah.
You know, in the flights, because they're also driving.
Truly.
They're experiencing what you're experiencing firsthand. I don't know the situation there, but I'm just saying that if there's a turbulence like that, sometimes it's not from them.
Right.
And we might not be able to tell since we're not pilots.
Truly.
Because you can't know if a pilot is driving roughly or something of that sort. However, I'm sure that they will be okay. They have landed. That's
they have
the most
landed.
important
Yeah,
thing.
they are safe.
They are safe. That's the most important thing right now.
You know. Of course, we also saw something on the internet. A Japanese woman called off her engagement to a real man and held a symbolic wedding with an AI character. You know, some stories you just see them and be like, what is happening here? What is going on here? You know, and the woman, she's 32 years of age. Her name is Yurina Noguchi. She married a digital partner shown on a smartphone in a wedding hall in Western Japan. I'm trying not to laugh, but it's it is funny, right? She called off her engagement with a real man and decided to marry a robot. Oh,
well,
your gender.
It's not about my gender.
Go ahead and talk.
Maybe it's more about your gender.
Oh, let's not make it a gender war now.
Exactly.
Let's not make it a gender
because
war.
Tell me why a woman would decide to marry a robot over a man that she's committed to. Maybe she's going to be like, this robot don't give me this headache that you do give me. So let me just make the smart choice right now and walk away. That's just a joke.
Oh, that should be a joke. Because I would say the man dodged the bullet. So.
Yeah.
That's also a joke. Your thoughts, go ahead.
Well, I'll say that this is the world that we live in right now. People doing crazy stuff, experimenting crazy stuff. Yeah. I've seen people marry their blankets. I've seen people marry a tree. I've seen people marry themselves.
Their pets.
So it's the world that we live in. But whatever works for them, that's pretty much it.
Well, of course, let's move away from this particular hilarious story and let's talk about the final story this morning. We see that American rapper Wiz Khalifa has been sentenced to 9 months in prison in Romania. And the court ruled that he broke the law after smoking cannabis on stage during a music festival. The judges said that his action was done openly and sent a bad message to young people, or young fans, they said. The sentence was given in his absence, and it is not clear if he's currently in Romania as we speak. But Wiz Khalifa later apologized online, saying that he did not mean to disrespect the country. But we don't know if he's going to be in Romania to serve his jail time or not. But this is also a call to celebrities, public figures. There are certain laws that have been set, especially some that is going to affect young people. And like it or not, as a public figure, there are certain things that you do that shape the culture and perception of a lot of people. And therefore, you need to ensure that you are actually showing the people a good side, a good light, a positive kind of lifestyle that people can actually look up to and then follow through. He's a public figure, and Romania, the Romanian government, charged him for this because he smoked the cannabis on stage. It was a public place. A lot of young fans are going to see him and they will say there's nothing wrong with doing this.
Acceptable.
It's acceptable and all of that, and people just need to be put in check.
Well, you see, countries that have specific rules about specific things, you'd see how fast development growth gets to such countries. And just in the same breath, I saw Cardi B performing on a Saudi Arabian stage. She had a concert over there. And that made me realize that everyone knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
She was fully covered. You know what it means for a Cardi to be fully covered? She was fully covered performing on the stage. She even had something like a head wrap on, you know. And the promotional videos she did also, she was fully covered. You know, and it's so funny because these countries have said, this is how we want to be identified. Exactly. This is how we want to be represented. And they stuck to it. They stood by it. So if you come to that country, it's either you fall in line or you fall out.
Simple.
And you see, it becomes easy for people know now that there are very strict rules regarding strict things or certain things within this country. So they would not break the law as much. But you see, the one where anything works,
anything just goes.
Anything goes.
And I think sometimes people say these countries are rigid, but you've got to be rigid sometimes, you've got to be strict sometimes to ensure that some of your laws, you know, actually can be adhered to as it is. We are looking forward to seeing that, you know, some things work efficiently here in this part of the world. But that being said, this is all we're going to take on this very segment. We'll get on a break now and we'll come back to be time for the review of the Nigerian national dailies. Please do not get anywhere. Welcome back. Of course, you're still watching Rapid Done Right on Rapid Television. Right now it is time for the review of the Nigerian national dailies. Let us begin with the Punch newspaper. And Tinubu pledges state police to U.S. European allies due to insecurity. And if you look at the bold headline there, you see Reps probe tax law tweaks as PDP demands suspension. And some details of that story says that the House of Reps on Thursday constituted an ad hoc committee to probe the alleged discrepancies in the tax reforms passed by the Parliament and the official gazetted copy currently in circulation across government agencies. This was also as the People's Democratic Party demanded that the federal government further shift forward by 6 months the January 1st, 2026 takeoff of the tax law. Now, the opposition party said that the shift became important following an alleged illegal alteration made to the law passed by the National Assembly, where the PDP added that the 6-month shift would allow for sufficient enlightenment campaigns on the new act. Now, do recall that also earlier this week there were talks that the tax law that was submitted, to the House of Representatives, for approval, which was also approved, that the tax law is going to get effective from January 1st, 2026. That there were some discrepancies, some changes here and there, which means that some of the things that were in that particular tax law, are not in this new tax law, or there's an utter change of the tax law. And that's why the PDP is also asking that it has to be shifted to 6 months so that the House of Reps can continue with their probe and ensure that everything is put in place, basically. We also see that World Bank approves a $500 million loan for Nigeria today. And when we began the show, we talked about this briefly, and we also said to you that according to what the federal government said, that the $500 million loan that is being that will be approved today is for small businesses here in Nigeria, so they can get access to loans and funds to scale their businesses and as well create businesses and also get to create jobs for other Nigerians here in Nigeria. Hence the $500 million loan. Talking about the festive season, NSA alerts governors to beef up security, and MTEF Reps Senate disagree over crude oil benchmark. You heard that. But Senate confirms Fani Kayode Omokri, 60 others as ambassadors, and South African police shoot Nigerian man dead at traffic stop. Court okays Malami's further detention by EFCC. Also hear that Christine Ngige has also been granted bail very recently. Do recall that Christine Ngige was caught for investigation by the EFCC and also remanded for a 2.2 billion naira fraud allegation. But we saw on the news today that he has been granted bail. But these are the headlines you're going to see on the front page of the Punch newspaper.
All right, let's go on to the Nigerian Tribune. And the top story talks about local governments must get their monies Tinubu tells the governors, says there is no autonomy without funded mandate. As APC showcases affected PDP governors at its 14th National Caucus meeting, we must create a level playing field for new entrants. That's Akpabio. Now, this issue of the local governments and the governors, I don't know, it's been on for a very long time.
Yeah.
And their funds have been held consistently. The Supreme Court has given a ruling, and the Supreme Court said that the local government, in the autonomy rights that they have been given, should also, their funds should be allocated to them, you know, so that they can also execute projects within their local government. And now the president is saying the same thing. He said it yesterday. He told the 36 governors to hand over the local government allocation to the local government areas in compliance with the Supreme Court judgment. And I wonder why they are holding so much onto the funds of the local government. The president said that there will be no autonomy without to the local government areas without the funded mandate, because they cannot run to the state government at every point in time to be able to execute projects within their local government as well. If mismanagement, because many times when these conversations surface the social space, these governors claim that there is a lot of mismanagement from the coffers of the local government, as it is with the state government as well, and it is with the federal government. There's mismanagement at every level. That's why there are checks and balances. There are policies, there are rules that are being put in place to ensure that when someone falls out of line, within the jurisdiction of the court, there are ways that they can be prosecuted for that. So why do you think that you have the right to be prosecuted only by the court, and the local government should not be given the same right or the fair playing ground? So it's been on for so long. This happened at the 14th APC National Caucus meeting in the State House, where the APC, the president rather, was talking to these 36 state governors and saying that they must obey the rulings of the Supreme Court, and that means giving the funds that belongs to the local government to the local government. He also advised governors and party leaders to be flexible in their actions and to ensure that they get involved in what happens in various places, including rural communities. You can put checks and balances. You can make sure that you go within these communities to check that the local government actually executed the project they said they would. Away from that, Banditry, the headline says, military operation underway at Osun and Kwara boundary communities. This is Adeleke. The court dismisses Malami bail application to remain in EFCC custody. I never really belonged to PDP. Oh my goodness, Fubara declares. I never really belonged to PDP. Fubara declares. And why were you there the whole time?
The question, where was he?
Where were you?
What platform did you win the election?
Exactly.
So let's go back to 2023 again, because this River State is a peculiar state, and of course it's my state. And in 2023, he was a civil servant. When the campaign started, his principal and himself were moving from one place to the other. All the campaign speeches were made for him by his principal. The form, he won the form. He won the primaries, the ticket for the PDP, right? He won the election under the platform of the PDP. Absolutely. Except he's saying to us right now that he was never a card-carrying member of the PDP.
No, it's not like, I don't think he meant he's not a member of the PDP. It's one thing to be a member, and it's another thing to actually belong there. There are people that say, oh, I don't belong here. I'm here, but I don't belong here. I think that's the context of the statement which he's trying to make. He's in the PDP, but he never truly felt like he belonged in the PDP. But whatever he means, that's for him. He has, my issue, decamp and keep quiet.
I mean, you can't keep quiet at this point, because you need to also make statements.
Decamp and stop trying to force us to accept your defection.
Right.
You have made your decision. Let us make our decision. Whatever we think about you is our business.
Simple as that.
But stop trying to do some sort of public cleansing by justifying your movement and what have you. We see what happened. We understand. You don't have to try to force your opinions down our throats. Also, about PDP crisis, says that Turaki Wike comes in another face-off over State Congress, ESCOs. And Wike's group ratifies dissolution of Lagos, Bauchi, Oyo, Delta ESCOs, and 10 others. Fixes state state congresses for January 9th, they are acting like dying horses, Turakis camp says. Well, Awujale stool, Wasiu Ayinde goes to court. And the Senate confirms Ibas, Ajimobi, Yakubu, Fani Kayode, Omokari, and 59 others as ambassadors. And Nigeria's 200 trillion cubic feet of gas can end darkness. saw new NUPRC boss. This is one of the things that she said as the Senate screens Farouk and Kamala Fair's replacement. She's already begun with making promises. Well, she's stating out the possibility. It's not about stating what is. Are you going to be able to do it? We have the cubic gas. Many administrations before the one that you're trying to succeed now and before you knew that that existed. What is the implementation structure for such a plan? Right. And these are the headlines you would find on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune.
Let's move straight to the Vanguard newspaper, and we'll see that NSIA grows assets to $3 billion. We are reading from the Vanguard as they build Nigeria's health, agriculture, and infrastructure sectors. If you look at the oil sector, far-reaching reforms coming. Eyuson Mohammed vow. Now, of course, he talked about it very just not quite long. We see that the nominees, of President Bola Tinubu, first for the chief executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, yesterday they told senators that they would implement far-reaching reforms to stabilize the country's oil and gas sector. Now, following a letter from President Bola Tinubu confirming the appointment of Orisemi Miyuwa Eyuson for NUPRC and Engineer Saidu Mohammed for NMDPRA, the Senate screened the duo as the new chief executive of Nigerian Oil and Gas Regulators yesterday. But just like he said, they have made their statement. Let us get to see what they are going to do when it comes to implementation. But of course, they've said that they're going to bring far-reaching reforms, in the oil and gas sector. Where tax laws altering legislations through official gazette illegal, lawyers are making that statement as reps constitute committee to probe alleged alterations. And Governor Yusuf Lord Tinubu Abichi over 47 billion naira Wuju Road. Uncertainty over NAF aircraft departure to Portugal after release in Burkina Faso. Uncertainty over NAF aircraft departure to Portugal after release in Burkina Faso. Electoral Act reps back 2-year jail term, 5 million naira fine for vote buyers and sellers. All right, so if you're caught buying votes, you're going to go, you'll be in jail for 2 years and you're going to pay 5 million naira. If you're also caught selling votes, you'll be in jail for 2 years and you are going to pay the fine of 5 million naira. The Electoral Act, the reps have backed that. Tinubu to governors, obey Supreme Court judgment. Let local governments get their allocations. Well, these are the headlines you're going to find on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. All
right, let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. And it says that when pains of reform, old scars hound new extra tax era promises. That's the big story for the Guardian. You find on page 4 and 5. Fresh nationwide defections tilts 2027 balances as APC tightens its grip. And 6 ex-PDP governors attend as Tinubu hosts APC caucus in Aso Villa. And ex-Labour Minister Ngige gets bail in alleged 2.2 billion naira fraud charges. The federal government rescinds decision and reopens 47 federal unity colleges. And the Barkin Ladi attack death toll rises to 14. This is in Plateau State. We also saw that video of bodies, on the floor, people speaking, calling on the government and asking that this matter is addressed once and for all. Barkin Ladi community suffered another attack by terrorists, extremists and jihadists, operators. And we put all of them in the pack because right now you're not able to identify who did what and where is the attack coming from directly. However, the lives of people are being lost and we cannot turn a blind eye to it. The government cannot turn a blind eye to it. And asking us to just beef up security, I'll think many times whenever I hear comments like that, it's just a sign of irresponsibility. Beef up the security. do what you must. If these communities are, because how can you say that a community that has been attacked 1, 2, 3 times, there are no security intels, there's no security on ground to ensure that these people are apprehended? Or how do they carry out these attacks and walk away from these communities unharmed or unhurt? No one catches, not even one person is caught, you know, from all of them. It's very sad to come to know. And we hope that something is being done to pay attention to the security situation in Plateau State. Now, Yusuf commends Tinubu and Bichi over 47 billion naira Wuju Road in Kano. The Ahmed defends finances and welcomes probe of children's education funding. But why did you resign? If you are innocent, why did you resign? I'll reiterate what analysts have been saying. I think I said this yesterday, and most analysts are talking about the fact that it's looking like Dangote is headed towards, it's about to open something that affects not just Farouk, but many other people. And, you know, this nerve, how do I put it? This reflex action of immediately stepping down and immediately replacing someone in that office looks really fishy. I don't know what any other person thinks, but that's pretty much what it looks like, because it's about to hit a nerve. And you know, when someone's about to hit a nerve, you know what the reaction about that and the reflexes that happen around there. However, people are saying that someone has awakened the beast in Dangote, and a lot of people seem to be loving it. But the truth is, a person who is quiet is in no way stupid. They know what they're doing. Of course. You know, it has gotten to the point where he now has to be vocal, now has to come out with his bazooka, you know, and call who he needs to call out. But yeah, that's pretty much it, what we have from that angle. The Senate also confirms 64 ambassadorial nominees. Their names, of course, have been published. And the PDP caretaker committee dissolves 14 state ESCOs and fixes January for congresses. These are the headlines you will find on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Let's
continue rather with the Nation newspaper. NBA, AGF, they say no to death penalty for kidnapping. We see that key justice and human rights stakeholders yesterday they opposed the Senate proposal seeking a prescribed death penalty for kidnapping under an amendment to the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. They warned that capital punishment would neither deter crime nor strengthen national security. And so the opposition was voiced at a one-day public hearing organized by the Senate Joint Committees on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, National Security and Intelligence and Interior. And so these key justice and human rights stakeholders are saying that the death penalty proposed by the Senate might not be the way to go in curbing the kidnapping situation in the country, Nigeria. We also see that court dismisses Malami's bail application. Nigerian Air Force officers leaves Burkina Faso for Portugal and alleged 22 billion naira fraud. Court upholds Ngige's bail with conditions. And Senate clears 64 nominees for ambassadorial appointment and states on high security alert for the festive season. PDP failed me, says Fubara. Governor speaks on defection to the APC. And Tinubu governors obey verdict on council autonomy. And state police will strengthen our security, says President Yuwata, to roll out e-registration rather. And army training schools for overhaul. And PDP faction dissolves 14 states ESCOs. But these and many more you're going to find on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
All right, let's take a look at the New Telegraph. And yielded, the governors promise visible security presence nationwide. And IGP orders redeployment of presidential escort and officers nationwide. The federal government reopens 47 unity schools and reaffirms commitment to student safety. Teachers threaten service withdrawal nationwide. And Northern Khan to Tinubu take decisive action on insecurity. CAS says secure stable nation and NAV media common goals. An APC caucus meeting says pass a state police bill implement Supreme Court ruling on local government autonomy, the president tells the governors. Akwa Ibom says that the court sentences 4 to death by hanging for kidnapping. And I'm wondering why anyone is making a case against the death penalty for kidnapping. Do you have a hand in it? Does your family have a hand in it? Let whoever is being caught face the full wrath of the law. I've come to find out that when there are no consequences for things, people play around those things. When there are consequences, it becomes a deterrent. And when someone is making a case saying, oh, but death penalty is not going to be a deterrent, then anybody who is found will be killed. If the person is, it just brings the end of the story for you and your kind. Whenever you are caught, you are completely executed. And that's how it should be. You know, don't say it will not be a deterrent. Let them be caught first, and then we'll know if it becomes a deterrent for the other people. Oh, no. As long as they multiply, that's how much they will be executed. That's just simple mathematics, if you ask me.
And I do hope that, of course, that the Senate and afterwards, you know, they can actually come to an agreement. If this passes into law, then it becomes the law for the nation. It
becomes the law for the nation. Because those ones are so afraid to die. But you have killed multiple people. You live by the road, you die by the road as well. So PMS, it says marketers in dilemma face 34 billion naira loss on sodding palm price slash. PDP crisis deepens as Wike's loyalists ask Turkey to prove INEC's recognition, dissolves party structures in 14 states, and have always been a progressive, Fubara says, 4 and 6 of the New Telegraph. Tea linked to stronger bones in older women.
Tea?
Tea.
Okay.
Let's see about that. Well, I think I'm healthy. I have healthy bones. You already know that. The Senate confirms Yakubu, Fani Kayode, Mokri, and others as ambassadors. Nigeria-France tax pact. Obi says Nigerians deserve the full details, and that's where the problem is. Full details are not being published online. We're just being told bits and pieces of what that agreement is about. Let us know what we are getting into.
And the truth is, the Nigerians basically might not be able to get the full details. Always, you know, those are the hands of affair. We'll get the full details, and they will tell us what they think we should know. Well, it's our data.
It's our data. So we need to know how our data is being used.
Managed. We don't
because
understand
why
that.
do we call out social media? Why do we call out some social media companies saying that our data is being manipulated by these companies? And in fact, some people have sued Gmail, and Gmail, yes, Google Mail, and they said they're even paying out the amount that they've been sued for, paying out some bits and piece of that money to users of Gmail.
Well, that's been some invasion of privacy.
Exactly. So that's the same thing. If my data goes out to somebody, I need to know what that data is going to be used for. It's just simple mathematics again. Yes.
Let's see what they do.
Alleged 2.2 billion naira fraud, the court grants Ngige bail. And the face-off, Nigeria apologizes to Burkina Faso, releases detained servicemen and aircraft. CBN survey says insecurity, multiple taxes top business constraints in November. These are the headlines of the New Telegraph newspaper. Let's
conclude with the Daily Trust. We see that federal government reopens Unity schools after 28-day closure. And Boko Haram abduct born LG vice chair and councillors. New budget as 2025's lags, and reps raise presidential campaign expenses to 10 billion naira, governorship to 3 billion naira. Hold on. Reps raise presidential campaign expenses to 10 billion naira, governorship campaign expense to 3 billion naira. As the OK e-transmission of election results. That's a lot of money for campaign and election. Well, these are the headlines you're going to find on the Daily Trust this morning. And of course, this concludes the review of the Nigerian National Dailies. We'll go on a break now. We'll come back to be time for the Human Chronicles. Do stay with us. Yes, the time is 8 o'clock, and of course, it is now time for the Human Chronicles, where we get to unveil a story today behind humanity. And today we are going to be sharing with you a story of Kemi Adeyola, a British Nigerian girl who, while she was in prison for shoplifting, decided to come up with an almost perfect plan to make a 3 million euros by targeting elderly and defenseless women. Now, what makes this case even more interesting is that at some point, she wrote a book, about murder but of course going on to unalive some other person. But let's go ahead and watch the narration of the video, and we'll come back, we'll discuss about it even better.
Leonard and Anne Mendel were a retired couple living peacefully in the North London suburb of Golders Green, United Kingdom. Leonard was 81 years at the time, while his wife, Anne, was 85 years old. 14th March 2005 started just like every other day for the retired couple. But little did they know that a young friend, who wasn't so friendly anymore, had terrible plans for them. Leonard had left home that day at 9:45 a.m. to pick up some plane tickets from the nearby travel agent's office. Leonard and Anne were planning to visit their daughter in Israel. He returned home at 11 a.m. and opened the door to a horrible sight that made his blood run cold. Leonard noticed that the walls of the hallway were covered in blood. At the bottom of the stairs was a pile of clothes. When he moved the clothes, he found his wife Anne lying underneath. Leonard wasn't sure if Anne was alive or dead. He didn't even notice the bloodstains on his wife's clothes. All he thought at the time was that his wife, being an elderly and frail woman, fell off the stairs. He had absolutely no idea how wrong he was. When his wife wasn't responding to his attempts to shake her into consciousness, he decided to call an ambulance. But his nightmare was far from over. What he discovered next sent chills down his spine. When Leonard reached for the phone in the hallway, he found out that the line had been deliberately cut. But luckily for him, the phone in the kitchen was still working, so he quickly dialed 999 and asked for an ambulance. While awaiting the arrival of the ambulance, Leonard gave his wife mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, hoping that it would somehow revive his unconscious wife. But sadly, it was to no avail. When the emergency response team arrived, they confirmed Anne Mendel dead. At 11:30 a.m., the police were called. When they arrived, the forensic team searched the crime scene for clues. They found out that the lock on the front door had not been forced. This suggested that Anne Mendel had known her attacker and had led them into her home. Anne Mendel's body was taken to Finchley Mortuary, North London, for a post-mortem. A forensic pathologist examined the body and found that the cause of death was stab wounds to the chest. Anne Mendel had been stabbed 14 times. But who would murder an 85-year-old woman, and what could have possibly been the motive behind the killing? Anne wasn't a rich woman, so she had no gold necklaces or diamond rings that were worth stealing. So why the gruesome attack? Well, the reason why Anne Mendel was killed will turn out to be more sickening than the actual crime itself. Before removing Anne's body from the murder scene, the forensic team working on the case had checked it for evidence. They hoped that the killer could be traced from their DNA. Unfortunately for them, just one scrap of DNA evidence was found in the crime scene, a small piece of skin under Anne Mendel's fingernail. This was the only evidence they needed to make a major breakthrough in the case. At least, that was what they thought at the time. But the attacker had no intention of making it easy for them, and this will be clear to you as the story unfolds. It was then checked against a database of the DNA of known criminals. In a typical murder case, forensic scientists compare two samples of DNA, an evidence sample and a reference sample. In this case, the evidence sample was collected from Anne Mendel's hand. The reference samples were held on the DNA database. The forensic scientists found a match. The DNA evidence found on Anne Mendel belonged to a 17-year-old girl named Kemi Adeyola. Kemi Adeyola was born into a wealthy and prominent Nigerian family in the UK. Her father, Bola Adeyola, was a Nigerian and a successful property tycoon with an estimated worth of around £10 million, while her mother, Mercuria, was Barbados. Including butchers, despite her affluent upbringing, Kemi had a troubled youth. Bola Adeyola's marriage to Kemi's mother, Mercuria, lasted barely 4 years, and he had very little contact during the upbringing of his 3 children. Mercuria also had a 4th child, but from a different relationship. She and her children moved to a succession of homes in places including Cheltenham and Peterborough. These frequent relocations often led to strained relationships with neighbors. While staying in one specific property in Gloucestershire, Kemi reportedly killed the goldfish in a neighbor's pond and blamed it on a cat. She also bravely boarded at a £23,000 a year Wycliffe College. The independent school at Stonehouse prides itself on its academic and sporting achievements, but Kemi only lasted a few months because of a dispute over who was paying her fees. After the dispute, Mekira moved her kids to Elmcroft Road in Golders Green, where they became neighbors to Mr. and Mrs. Mendel. The elderly couple had been married for 50 years and lived a quiet, rewarding life. They had 2 children and 14 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Anne Mendel was always nice to Kemi, even though she was warned severally by other neighbors who experienced the dark side of Kemi Adeyola. She would open the door to her house and let Kemi in. Each time, she locked herself outside her home. Anne Mendel did this despite the fact that neighbors reported Kemi several times for subjecting other residents to a reign of terror. Kemi reportedly abused young children, harassed other neighbors due to their race, and even smeared excrement on their windows. A resident told the police that Kemi caused a lot of trouble to one particular Asian family in the area. She once lay in wait for the Asian man behind a bush and then punched him in the face, breaking his nose. She also racially abused the man's wife, but the last straw that broke the camel's back was when she tried to poison their dog as well. The family finally decided they had had enough and then reported her to the police, and she was arrested. Kemi started engaging in criminal activities at the age of 15. She was frequently shoplifting from stores and also became skilled at manipulating receipts to get refunds for stolen goods. These activities would eventually lead to a string of convictions and a custodial sentence. In September 2004, Kemi Adeyola was sent to the Young Offenders Wing at Bullwood Hall Prison in Essex, where she served 3 months for shoplifting. The aim might have been for the system to make efforts to correct her bad behavior, but it turned out to have an opposite effect on her. Kemi's stay at Bullwood Hall gave her enough time to plan one of the darkest crimes ever committed by a woman in the UK. And just 4 months after her release in November 2004, she implemented every piece of the plan. On 12 May 2005, after the DNA evidence pointed to Kemi Adeyola, she was arrested and interrogated for the murder of Anne Mendel. The police told her that she had been linked to the crime scene by forensic evidence. Kemi tried to explain why skin with her DNA had been found on Anne Mendel's fingernail. She stated that she had been in Golders Green the day before the murder, that she had visited Sally's Beauty Supply to buy 2 hair-relaxing chemical kits. Kemi revealed that she had met an old lady, Anne Mendel, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. on Golders Green Road by the junction with Finchley Road, and that she held Anne Mendel's hand while she crossed the road. As they crossed, Anne slipped and scratched her hand, implying that the skin found on Anne's fingernail was a result of this event. However, Kemi changed her story several times, saying that this meeting had taken place on different days. The police suspected that she was lying because, first, Sally's Beauty Supply said they did not sell hair-relaxing chemicals to her. Secondly, a search of her flat showed she owned no hair-relaxing chemicals, just hair-straightening tongs. Thirdly, Anne Mendel's movement from the 12th and 13th March showed it was unlikely she would have been in Golders Green. And lastly, Kemi's mobile phone records showed that on the afternoon of 13th March, she was in the West End, a part of central London that is farther away from Golders Green. Kemi, feeling cornered at this point, decided to make her claims more believable by giving the police an alibi for the morning of the murder. She claimed that she had been at a bus garage in Alperton, northwest London. Kemi explained that she had been collecting a purse that she lost on a bus. However, records of calls made from her phone showed she had actually been near her home in Belsize Park, North London. This was a long way from Alperton, but just a short journey from Golders Green, where Anne Mendel was murdered. By this time, police had made more discoveries about Kemi Adeyola's background. They found out that she had lived next door to Anne and Leonard Mendel in Golders Green before relocating to her new home in Belsize Park. The police then made another breakthrough that further gave them a clue about who and what they were dealing with. They discovered that while Kemi Adeyola was in prison at Bullwood Hall, she had written a book about killing an elderly woman. The book was called Prison and After: Making Life Count. This murder manual was found during a routine cell search in October 2004. It was an 18-page, detailed plot describing how she planned to murder a defenseless elderly victim to make $3 million. In her murder manual, Kemi laid out her plans for the future. She described how she would buy a home through fraud and deception. She also explained how she would get a high-paying job by lying about her academic qualifications and forging official documents. The manual contained a shopping list, including butcher's knives, handcuffs, drugs, hoods, and stun guns. Adeyola wrote about buying drugs to cause memory loss and paralysis in her victim. Her plan was to creep up on and attack an elderly, defenseless victim. Kemi Adeyola described how she would torture her victim into revealing their private bank account numbers and the code to their private safe. She could then steal all their money and valuables. She imagined building a tent made of cling film to catch the victim's blood, and also wrote about how she would dispose of the body. In her book, Kemi Adeyola describes stalking an elderly woman in a wealthy area. She went into great details with lines such as run lightly and silently behind her and cover her mouth with a gloved hand and make her so scared she cooperates. Keep calm, composed, and silent. She must cooperate or take a knife to her throat. Tell her, this is your only warning. She also gave graphic details on how she will dismember and dispose of the body. She wrote, with your butcher's knife, remove her head, wrap it in film to contain bleeding, detach limbs one by one. When these writings were discovered, she told her psychiatrist and prison staff that her notes were part of the draft of a novel, and unfortunately, they believed her. The psychiatric assessment carried out after the document was discovered claimed that it did not indicate any concern that Ms. Adeyola would be predisposed in any way to this type of violence, nor was there any evidence of this type of violence in her past. It described her as a highly intelligent and sophisticated young person who, with good support, should make a good recovery and engage in her A-level studies. Kemi had lied to the psychiatrist that she had achieved 4 grade A GCSE, which they believed, and said they felt it was a shame that she had been arrested. After Ann Mendel's murder, the police suspected that this document was no work of fiction, but a deadly serious plan for murder. However, it didn't make any sense because Ann Mendel was not wealthy. So why did Kemi Adeyola target her? It was later argued that the murder of Ann Mendel was just a trial run. Kemi Adeyola was testing her plan to see if it worked before going on to murder someone wealthy. Clearly, she expected to get away with this murder and go on to kill again. Kemi planned to wear gloves during the murder to hide her fingerprints. Detectives charged Kemi Adeyola with the murder of Ann Mendel and held her on remand at Holloway Prison in North London. While she was awaiting trial, Kemi Adeyola began to plot how she would create a fake alibi to prove she had not killed Ann Mendel. To pull this off, Kemi and her sister Shade placed an advert in the Brent Leader newspaper. The advert asked anyone who had seen Kemi Adeyola on a bus on the morning of the murder to contact her solicitors. After this was done, Kemi then told Natasha Greenwood, a 16-year-old prisoner, to find a person outside the prison who they could pay to lie. This person would say they had seen Kemi Adeyola on the 268 bus at the time of the murder. However, Kemi Adeyola's plan to find a false alibi witness took an unexpected twist. Natasha Greenwood told the police about Kemi's plot and explained that she had pretended to go along with the plan just to keep Kemi Adeyola calm. On June 6, 2006, Kemi Adeyola's court case began. She denied murder and tried to influence the judge and jury by crying and shaking in court when she was questioned. On June 27, 2006, at the Old Bailey Court in London, Kemi Adeyola, then aged 18, was found guilty of the murder of 85-year-old Ann Mendel. She was also found guilty of trying to deceive the court by plotting to invent a false alibi. Kemi Adeyola was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 20 years. However, in March 2024, she faced her first parole hearing. Surprisingly, for such a high-profile case, the parole board recommended moving her to open prison conditions after an October 2023 hearing. This would mean that Adeyola could be transferred from a high-security prison to a less restrictive facility. In an open prison, inmates have more freedom of movement within the facility, and some might even be allowed to leave during the day for work or education, returning in the evening. It is a step between being fully locked up and being released back into society. It is designed to gradually reintroduce prisoners to more normal living conditions and test how they handle increased freedom. However, Adeyola would still be serving her sentence just under less strict conditions and could be sent back to a closed prison if she doesn't follow the rules or if there are concerns about her behavior. The parole board emphasized that this was only a recommendation, not a decision for release. They stated that such recommendations are made only when the risk to the public has sufficiently reduced and when it's essential for informing future release decisions. The board stressed that their focus is solely on assessing the prisoner's current risks to public safety. Despite having the power to block this move, the Justice Secretary did not oppose the recommendation. Once again, it's important to note that prisoners in open conditions can be returned to closed prisons if concerns arise about their behavior. This development represents a significant step in Adeyola's case, potentially paving the way for her eventual release, though she remains in custody.
What a story, you know. You know, sometimes you hear some stories and you're like, how do people think? At what point did they actually get to that point where they would sit down, conceptualize the idea, you know, plan it and go ahead to execute, you know, such ideas? Such a young girl. And according to the narration, she started, you know, shoplifting from a very young age, criminal activities, you know, went pro, was busy forging, you know, documents and all of that, and using that to get jobs, forging receipts to get, you know, get some change, you know, from some of the stores there in the country where she resided. And going ahead to write a book detailing, you know, how she was going to carry out her act and activities, you know, her mother plans, was something that is also, I mean, come on, it's crazy to see all of these things happen. And, you know, and the narrator says something. She wanted to use the elderly woman as a test run. Let me test if my idea is going to work. And then went ahead, unalived her, wanting to carry out the same thing with another person. Thankfully, she was caught. But thinking about it, imagine using another human as a test subject to check, okay, if I kill you, let me see if I'm going to go scot-free. A very crazy plan, a very crazy thought as it is.
And you know the things, curiosity is a good thing. But some level of curiosity needs to be checked.
I'm telling you.
There are people that are curious about what happens in the human brain. They want to see it firsthand.
So they want to open
and they are not doctors. Curiosity, some people are extremely curious. And when they say curiosity kills a cat, sometimes it's not because it's a bad thing to be curious. It's because when it gets to an extreme state, you don't know where to stop, where and when to stop. And this lady often also found herself in that state. How can somebody want to find out whether she'll be caught if she murders a person? Like what level of curiosity will drive a person to that point? But it's very unfortunate. And thankfully the system over there works, and it's easy to be able to track time, be able to trace people's movements and fingerprints and all of that. But thankfully she was stopped. Who knows how many more people, because the elderly people are the most vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable in society. They always could use help to move around, help to take walks, help. They will always need help. So she picked or she preyed on the most vulnerable of the society, thinking that she'd be able to go scot-free. But thankfully she was stopped. Yeah,
thank God she was caught. Anyways, let's leave the studio right now for Victor Ejima to come up and give us some of the sporting updates. When we'll come back, to be time for the big conversation, or let's call it the Owambe moment. And maybe we just might have that dance competition here today. Who's going to win, Victor or Martha or you? Let's get to find out at 9 o'clock. But let's leave space for Victor Ejima to come in at 8:30 to give his sporting updates, and do stay with us.